Thank you, Jen, and especially thank you to Madam Vice President and Senator Duckworth. I'm Stephanie Woody. I live in Charleston, West Virginia, and this past April, in the middle of a pandemic, my husband and I opened our restaurant, the Vandalia Company here in Charleston. Shortly after we opened, our youngest son had a mountain bike accident out of town and required emergency surgery. We are lucky enough to have a great community of small business owners in our neighborhood who were able to get the word out that we would be closed. Thankfully, it was just for a few days, but that experience really showed us that we have a great need for paid leave when the expected or the unexpected happens. So we're just one family, but my employees and all workers really need paid family and medical leave. Small businesses like mine, we can't afford to provide that on our own. So we need the help from a federal program. After our experience, I wrote to Senator Manchin, explained what had happened, asked him about paid leave, and I was floored to answer the phone one day while I was cooking in my restaurant and hear his voice. He told me he understood how important paid leave was to us, and he was supportive of my concerns. He knows that no one works harder than mountaineers, but he also, I hope that I made clear to him that there are some things that we can't manage on our own. So small businesses, our employees, we need the support that is in Build Back Better, especially right now during this pandemic. So my question to you is, what does the Build Back Better agenda do to ensure that others don't have to go without paid leave when they need it? And what can people like me do to help get this legislation across the finish line? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. Every American should have access to paid leave and should never have to decide between getting a paycheck and caring for a sick family member or a child. When my first child was born, my husband was still in military service and he got 10 days off. That was it, 10 days, and he had to go back to work. We've worked hard to fix that within the federal government, but every American deserves to have time off to go take care of a loved one. I remember after a long Senate workday, and I was getting on an airplane to fly back home, my husband texted me as the airplane was pushing back, and he said, "The baby's okay. She fell, but we can't stop the bleeding. Headed to the emergency room." Oh my goodness. But I was able, she's fine. She just cut her lip. I had to get some stitches, but I was fine to be able to take her to a subsequent doctor's appointment and take the time off from work in order to do that. And I'm a very lucky person that I was able to do that and care for my child who had an accident. This issue is really personal to me. I'm fortunate that I have help when I need it. I can take time off when I need to, but for far too many parents, they don't have those options. And this is something that has become all too obvious during the pandemic, especially for those essential workers. New research shows that taking actions on policies for care and equity could add $2.4 trillion, that's with a T, to our GDP by 2030. So it's clear that paid leave is not only good for the working family, it's good for our economy, and that's why it's so critical to the Biden-Harris Build Back Better agenda. And you ask, what can you do? Call Joe Manchin again and tell them to support it.
Thank you.
So here's some statistics, which I think many of us know. 80% of private sector workers do not have paid leave. 80%. So this is a big issue, especially when, to the point that the senator made and you've made, Stephanie, that at some point in everyone's life, you will need to take time off from work to handle an emergency, to care for a sick relative, to have some time after giving birth to another human being to actually rest and take care of that newborn child. And so let's talk about it in the context then of the fact that there is a big issue in our country, which is we are not taking care of workers who need time off to care for themselves or people in their families. And it's just not right. So again, Build Back Better is going to address that in many ways. If we pass Build Back Better in terms of your small business, and congratulations on starting a small business, we also want to make sure that small businesses can better compete for workers. Because we know that where you see paid family leave, it's usually with the bigger companies who can afford it, but smaller businesses can't. But we want our small businesses to be competitive, to do well. Our small businesses in the United States, the last numbers I saw, almost half of the American workforce works for a small business or owns a small business. So let's even the playing field, right? Both for the sake of supporting hardworking people, supporting our small businesses, and supporting our families. And that really, at the heart of it, is part of the essence of what we are fighting for with the Build Back Better initiative. So thank you for telling your story. How's your son doing?
He is fantastic. No one heals like a 13-year-old. He's already back on his bike.
Yeah. The teen years are they are just extraordinary in many ways. You haven't
Yes.
been there yet, Tammy, but I'm just telling you.
Be
But
prepared.
thank you for sharing your story. Right, exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.